Hello world, and welcome back to episode 6 of The Top Split. I'm your host, Alex McKellar, and my guest this episode was another iRacing Twitch streamer, Mr. Tyson Meier, also known as Quirk, who is of course best known for his Twitch stream on his channel Quirkatized, and I will get that right at some stage, I'm sure. I invited Tyson onto the show because since having his Grip TV counterpart Matt Malone on in a previous episode, I've actually started to become far more engaged in Twitch streaming, both trying a little streaming of my own, but more so watching other channels, including Tyson's, and I found it really quite entertaining in the bite-sized chunks that I'm most often able to consume it in. I will warn you up front that Tyson and I didn't really actually talk too much about iRacing in our conversation, but we did talk about a bunch of other stuff that personally I found really interesting and enjoyable, and it really lined up with some of the goals I set out for myself about the type of podcast that I wanted to produce when I set out doing all of this. Ultimately, I wanted to have conversations with people that I found interesting and potentially had stuff in common with. I certainly found that was the case on this occasion, and this was probably up there as my favourite one to date for those reasons. So on that note, you have been warned, but for now, I give you Mr. Tyson Meier. First off, I'd like to welcome Mr. Tyson Meier to the Top Split. I hope I pronounced that right. Joining me from the insane hours of the morning in the US. Welcome, Tyson. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. And yeah, you got it right on the button, I guess you could say.
Excellent. Well, I'll get you to pronounce your channel name for me in a second. Many of my listeners, of course, will know you from your iRacing Twitch stream and your channel there. Your handle, well, I say Quirk, although that's not the full name of it. Can you pronounce it for me so I get it right?
Yeah, I want to hear you try to say it first, though.
All right. Well, hang on.
Because I mess up everybody's names in stream, so I want to hear you try to say mine.
All right, hang on. Let me just look at it in front of me. So, Quirkatized.
You got it.
Bang, Quirkatized. There you go, folks.
Yep.
So at the end of this, if you want to check out more of Tyson's work, go out to Quirkatized, and that'll hopefully be embedded in my memory now. So I invited you to join me here because I really enjoy your iRacing streams. I've been watching them for a little while now.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And I enjoyed what I saw of your Shadow Tactics recently. I think that's the game it was called, Little Ninja Samurai game. Was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice distraction. But obviously iRacing is your staple and what people would know you for. Can you tell us a little bit how you got into streaming?
Yeah, sure. So I've had my Twitch account for many years. If I had to guess, I think I have it for about 4 years now. But I didn't start streaming until Diablo 3 came out. Even then, it wasn't until about a year after Diablo 3 came out. I would stream that, and then just every now and then, it was just casual stuff, just so a few friends could see what we were doing. And then I moved on to Dirt Rally, and I streamed that a lot, actually I have over 1,100 hours in Dirt Rally, and I would say at least 1,000 of those hours, if not almost all 1,100, are streamed. So I gained a lot of viewers and followers from Dirt Rally, and that's what really kind of kept me going and kept me streaming. It was just fun to stream it, and people seemed to enjoy watching it. And then I just moved on to iRacing after I played Dirt Rally so much.
Wow, 1,100 hours. That's heaps. Do you reckon you've clocked up as many on iRacing? Because you certainly put in the hours that I've seen.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, that's.
I don't think you can track don't think there's a way to track it in iRacing. So I don't know.
No, but I think Twitch might give you some numbers, but I don't know how comprehensive that is.
I don't even want to know. How about that?
That's fair enough too. How did you end up teaming up with Grip TV?
I was just streaming iRacing at the time, and I got contacted by JP or Juha. I can't pronounce his name. See, I'm terrible with names.
JP's good
but
too.
I'm just gonna say JP, and people that listen to this will probably know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But so he contacted me, and he asked me about joining Grip TV and what I think about being part of a community on Twitch. And I checked him out and looked at it, and I had been following him and watching his streams, and John, and then Matt Malone, and I just thought it was a nice group of guys. So I decided to join them, and here I am many, many months later.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, that's what I think is a big part of internet gaming in general is the communities that form around it that perhaps would otherwise not have gotten together, if that makes sense. I mean, you may never have met those guys, let alone sort of collaborated with them like that, yet we're able to do that through this sort of medium, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It kind of reminds me of, in real life, you might only have, let's just say you got 10 people that are, kind of really, really close friends. Just for an example. But if you walk into, let's say, a bar and there's 200 people in that bar, you might only 3 people in there might be somebody that'll have the same interest in you that you would want to hang out with. Whereas on the internet, you can pinpoint exactly what you're interested in and what others are interested in. And, in no time, a community is formed and you can make friends, and because you all have a common interest. So, the community is great.
No, I'd never actually thought about it that way, to be honest, but that bar analogy, or at least that real life analogy where you go somewhere and it's kind of hit and miss. Whereas with the internet, as you say, you can laser pinpoint the sort of interest that you might have that might help people connect. That's an awesome way to look at it.
Yeah, I think it really helps me because believe it or not, I'm not very social, but yet I stream. And that's kind of, it's like, wait, why is this guy streaming if he's not very social? It's not that I don't like people. It's just, I'm just not a very outgoing person, but for whatever reason, streaming is a little different. And I think it's because of that, because, I'm doing something that I want to do, that I'm interested in, and then mostly those that watch feel the same way. So it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, look, I can tell you, I can relate to that 100%. I'm pretty introverted myself, and like you, I guess I kind of think people are okay, but I'm just as happy doing stuff on my own as well. And I think it's really quite a safe way to interact with people on those terms, or at least on your own terms as well. So that's, again, another really interesting approach to looking at it. But from what I've seen, you certainly put a lot of effort into the quality, both visually of your stream, but also the content and how you interact with your audience. It certainly looks like you're having a lot of fun, though. Is that the case?
Yeah, most of the time, and up until, my chat are just full of a bunch of bitches. So I don't know if how far we can cuss on the podcast. Yeah. So
I've got it fairly G-rated, so that's
okay,
but that's
okay.
fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right. Well, up until that point, but no, I do. I enjoy it a lot, and the community's been great, and I pretty much have already forgotten what you asked me. So,
yep. I was just asking if you have a lot of fun, because it looks like it does, but.
Yeah, you'll have to re-edit this because I'm terrible with answers.
No, you're doing really well. I was going to say, since one of your Grip TV cohort, Matt Malone, was on the show, I've been snooping around Twitch streams quite a bit, and generally when I find a game or something that I'm interested in, I'll hop on one of the highly populated streams, as I'm sure a lot of people do in the first instance, until they find something they like. But by and large, the most popular, I don't know, shoot 'em up style game streams have players that are good at what they do, the gaming itself, which I guess draws viewers in, I guess, rather than any of the streaming elements that can be added in, the whistles and bells. But there's one guy that I watch from time to time who puts on, I don't know, it was the only way I could think of describing it was like a full production show style kind of a stream. He takes on the persona of his character, Dr. Disrespect, and he has some quite high quality studio type visuals and cutscenes and stuff, and he uses.
I've seen a few clips. Sorry to interrupt, but
you're right. It's
pretty good.
It's pretty cool, and it makes for quite an entertaining show over and above the actual gameplay, which was also pretty good, as he's fond of saying. But from what I can tell, that's his full-time gig though. So I'd expect that, like anything people choose to make a career out of, I don't know, can you call it a career these days? I think people can make a living from it.
I think you can, but I would caution people getting into it for that reason.
Yeah.
Because the ones that you see making a living out of it are like the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
They're the very, very top guys or girls. Well, on Twitch, it does happen to be a lot of girls.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
But it's very few and far between, So you can, but it's, if anything, if you get partnered and you get some subscribers, if anything, it can help with your hobby and kind of keep your hobby going without hurting your checkbook too much,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a really good way of looking at it. Certainly, particularly in iRacing, we're quite a small niche market, so to speak, where I don't think there are going to be any full-time streamers anytime soon. But, sort of subsidizing your hobby, because it can be quite expensive with all the gear. Certainly a good way to look at it. I think also Dr. Disrespect actually has people helping him on site with doing the live cutscenes and what have you, but I could be wrong. But so it could be, a serious undertaking at that point, I think. But similarly in your stream, whilst it's not obviously a full-time gig and you can't go to those lengths, I really like what you've added for your viewers to interact with you while you're live. And I'm a bit of very much an amateur at this sort of stuff, but you've got the sound bites, for example, which can be really funny, but I imagine it be quite distracting for you at times. I mean, I guess there are good times and bad with them, but do they ever throw you off during a race?
Sometimes they do, but the sound effects don't really do it. What does it for me, that throws me off, is looking at chat. And I look at chat at the incorrect moments all the time, but with the sound effects, it's actually not that bad. I don't really mind it.
Yeah, no, it certainly adds to it from mine, but yeah, I've noticed that the chat can be quite distracting as well. I've done it a couple of times myself streaming, and I don't have the setup that you do with I think it's your fourth monitor above. Is that right? I have mine off to the side, and it makes it a bit hard. Yeah,
I have, right above the middle monitor, I have a fourth one.
Yeah, that must make it a bit easier. I asked people in the Discord channel today if they had any questions for you, and one of the listeners, I've smattered them out through what I had in my head for this episode, but one of the listener questions I had was, do the jokes that sort of come at your expense in the chat not only get distracting, but do they ever get to you? I mean, I know I've seen you take a ribbing from your viewers with real grace in the heat of battle, is how I describe it, but have you ever found it a bit too much?
I think there's only been one time in the last 2 years that I ever let it really get to me, because every time I get ready to stream and before I hit stream, I just try to remind myself that every day is a learning experience. And that's something that I always needed to work on, was just not getting upset. And I use the stream and the joking around as a great tool to try to teach myself to stay calm, especially racing, all night and then joking around with people. It can be a bit much, but I don't think it's ever gotten to me to the point where I didn't want to stream the next day.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, there's certainly a nice bit of banter that flows back and forth in there, and someone like me, who sits pretty quietly in the background sometimes, it's enjoyable to watch. But do you ever feel like you have like 100 backseat drivers?
Oh yeah, definitely. and I'll just tell them to piss off.
Yeah, I still want that "shut your face, Arky" soundbite, mate.
Yeah. Or I'll just tell them to shut your face. Just,
yeah, that's
or I'll
cool.
just say it's fine.
That's right.
Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing.
There's a few classics in there. One thing I wanted to talk about, I saw you putting together the latest soundbite live on your stream, which led me down a couple of lines of thought. Firstly, apologise if you did show this on the stream at the time, as I had to go probably in the middle of it. But other than Audacity to cut the actual sound itself for a wannabe streamer or a budding streamer like myself, what are you using to enable the sounds to be used live by your viewers?
Well, there's a couple programs, and the program to get the sound bites to play on the stream is called Ankbot, ANKH bot. And that bot it's not web based, it's a downloadable software that you can get, and it's free, and it's updated all the time. And within that bot program, you can do a lot of different things, from timers to commands, and sound effects, and that's and quotes. So that's where I have all that stuff taken care of, is with Ankbot. And then as far as the sounds go, I use Audacity. Just load up a sound file that I want, and then just clip out the bit that I would prefer to have on the stream.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like you've put a lot of care and thought into those as well, which demonstrates, I guess, part of the second line of thought that I went down when I saw that. I mean, something I really like about your stream is how authentic you are, and by that I mean is how much of yourself you put into it and how open and honest you are, and at least how it comes across to me anyway. The making of that soundbite as an example. Firstly, you put it together live on stream, so people actually saw part of the craft, so to speak, but also the nature of the soundbite itself. I'm thinking of the one from the Porsche incident recently. That was obviously, that was really obviously a tough and emotional moment that was not only on display when it happened for the world to see, but now you've sort of taken that moment, embraced it, and immortalized it for everyone to sort of use as part of their interactions with you going forward. And for me, that demonstrated a really healthy ego. And by that, I don't mean that you have a massive ego and you're full of yourself, but actually quite the opposite. I thought it showed that you've got a very humble and healthy ego, and that despite the obvious impact that moment had on you at the time, you were able to sort of turn around and own it. I mean, I think you use it as your subscriber pop-up now too, I think.
Yep. I try to laugh at myself a lot, which, well, if anybody watches the stream, can see that happens a lot, like nonstop. And, it's very, very upsetting when stuff like that initially happens. When, the accident happened in the Porsche race, or Porsche, I suppose I should say that.
Nah, you're right.
I'll probably get some criticism for saying that. But yeah, so anyway, when that happens in a race, and I was pretty livid. That's about as upset as I have gotten in quite some time, and having a few arguments in chat. And but even though I was so upset, after I think I banned one user because they were kind of really getting to me. Even after banning him, after a while, it's like, okay, I'll unban him. And then I made, a public apology to him over the air on Twitch live, and then also wrote him a message. And that's the hardest part, is knowing that messed up and went too far. And then when you realize that, and you can make a joke about it and laugh at yourself about it, that's the hardest part. But once you get to that part, it feels like there's a weight off your shoulders, and you can just relax and have fun again. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, you're really talking to what I had in my mind when I was looking at that. I mean, you turned it into something that was humorous, which is pretty cool. But like I said, I think it's also pretty representative of what I think is your style. I feel like you put a lot of yourself into the stream. So those moments are really captured, and, whether or not it's intentional or not, I don't know, but it's certainly sort of there to be seen. I imagine being able to turn it into something like that was quite cathartic and sort of helped you move on for it, perhaps.
yeah, it does. And I mean, you got to take the good with the bad. It's live. Everybody sees it as it happens, with maybe anywhere from a 5 to 20-second delay. And once I say it or do something, it's done, and people can clip it or record it. There's no getting away from it. It's not a YouTube video where you just put in exactly what you want people to see. So that's kind of going back to before I would start the streams. I would try to remember that just try to take it easy. Every day is a learning experience, all that kind of mumbo jumbo, and just try my best to end the stream on a good note.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I mean, whether it's something you set out to do or not, I think a large part of the appeal of your stream is obviously you and what you bring to it. So congratulations on that and how it's going to this point. I wanted to also ask you a bit about your thoughts on streaming as a medium. I mean, we talked about it as an outlet for perhaps people that are introverted or seeking that direct line to people that might have similar likes and dislikes, if you like. But I wanted to ask you a bit more about it as a medium. I mean, I see it as a wave, or as part of the wave, I should say, of what they call, I guess, new media, and put it in a similar basket as things like obviously YouTube that we were just talking about, and something like Netflix to a lesser degree. But more so than Netflix, though, sites like YouTube and Twitch are making it possible for, I guess, everyone out on the street to put themselves and their content out there. When I was talking to Matt Malone about this, similarly, when he was on, there'd just been a big Counter-Strike tournament on the week before, and I was sort of, again, poking around Twitch at the time, and, believe it or not, when you went under the Counter-Strike category, there were over 500,000 people watching Counter-Strike games at that one time on Twitch as a result of that tournament. And similarly, it's not uncommon to see some of the big streamers, the individual streamers in games like League of Legends, for example, or one of the new ones, Battlegrounds. They can have up to 40,000 or more viewers on their streams, just their regular day-to-day ones, Can you imagine that? How do you think you'd go with a stadium's worth of viewers watching you drive the Porsche down the mountain of Bathurst?
I think I'm trying to remember when I hit the mark or the time where it didn't matter how many viewers I had, because I remember starting off in Dirt Rally, and I would have a few people, like a handful, anywhere between like 4 or 5 people, then like a dozen people, and then I remember getting like 30, 40 people were watching me. I was like, oh boy, this is kind of getting nervous. There's a lot of people watching me. And then I don't remember when it happened. I don't think it was actually a particular number. It was just over time. So now if there's a couple hundred people watching, I'm acting the same as if there was 30. And most of the time I try not to have my viewer count open, so I just pretend there isn't, there's only a few. The only people watching are the people chatting with me, so that's all I really know.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
And as far as it being a big scene, and I think that's just because like I was saying earlier, like with the bar, if there's 300 people in a big room, you might only be have the same interests as like 3 or 4 of those people. And it's just, entertainment is like one of the oldest professions. Everybody wants to be entertained on their downtime. And it's a fun way to spend time. And I think it really brings people in, especially a lot of younger people, because let's say you're watching a basketball game or a baseball game. A lot of kids will idolize those players, but they may never be able to grow up and get into the big leagues. But gaming is on a much, how do I want to say it? It's on a much more relatable level.
Yes.
That pretty much, if you're watching somebody on Twitch, you can do what they're doing.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You may not be able to get, the kill to death ratio that some of these guys do or whatever their reflexes, but you can play that game. Yeah. You can go and do what they're doing with their characters and all their moves, and you can do all of that. And there's a relatable feeling to that, I think. And and even though it's over the internet, I think it almost feels more like you're hanging out with them.
Yep.
Than you would be if you were watching a baseball game in the bleachers. And it's like you get to interact with them live as it happens. You can chat to them, and if they talk back to you, and whereas you don't get that in other media, I suppose.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. One of the things I had in my mind to talk to you about today was one thing I do absolutely love about the wave of streaming and the new media phenomenon in general is, and I really haven't defined, like you, I guess, how I want to articulate it quite yet, but I'm going to say it's accessibility. I mean, both in terms of allowing people like you and me to see that and see, like you were describing there, the stuff that we can do ourselves, but it also allows us to put our own content out there. But perhaps even more than that, you can reach out to some of these people that we might, idolize or seek to emulate, and they're all over the globe that you might not otherwise have ever had the opportunity to. Do you follow the UFC at all, the Ultimate Fighting Championship?
No, I don't. I don't really follow too many sports, but I watch highlights and read about it every now and then. Yeah, no,
I was going to bring it up because the current UFC 125-pound champion Demetrius Johnson, is a Twitch streamer. I mean, he's on all the time. He's on today. I was watching some of his stream, to the point where, a week or so back, he had a title fight, massive event, it wasn't pay-per-view actually. Anyway, he won in amazing fashion. He equaled the all-time consecutive championship title defenses.
Wow.
Yeah, he's seriously, pound for pound, the best fighter out there. So he wins the fight, right? And the next day he's back streaming on Twitch. Right? My point is, I guess, that I was blown away that this guy, given who he is and the brand that he has to manage in his career as a fighter, and it's a big part of the fight game. With all this, he still puts himself out there like that. He interacts with his fans in the chat, same as a lot of streamers do, and as a gamer directly, it was just amazing. It blows me away that, like you say, we can have that sort of access and connectivity to people that we otherwise wouldn't have,
Right. It's more of an intimate feeling. It's relatable. It's intimate. You feel closer to that person because you can see them every day, or however often their schedule allows, and you can chat with them. And every once in a while, you may join a game with them. Or be on the same server as them and end up playing with them. And you can't do that on any other medium. You can't just jump into a football game and say, hey, here I am.
Not if you want to walk away with a couple of broken legs, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. No, it's exactly right. It's interesting. We kind of think quite similarly on that. I bundle, it's interesting, I bundle podcasts in with the new media phenomenon as well. Slightly different, obviously, but when you think about the likes of the big players in that space, like Joe Rogan, for example, I mean, he gets 100 million downloads a week, and it says, you know, a lot about what people want and how they want to consume it. Personally, I find television these days, whether it be free to air or pay TV in Australia, at least, it's pretty painful to sit through. Yeah. I mean, I'm too used to watching what I want when I want. You know, we're spoiled for choice in the realm of new media, and I can see a time, you know, we're like kind of like newspapers now. Traditional TV as a medium is potentially going to go the way of the dodo, and perhaps, I don't know, maybe that's extreme, but then again, what's your sense of it in the US? Do you get the sense that people are embracing these new types of media content?
Yeah, to give you a perfect example is I wanted to actually upgrade my internet, so I called my ISP and I asked them what other tiers and speeds and packages they have to offer for internet, and they had another package that wasn't really that favorable to me because I wanted more upload. Because for streaming, and anyway, their package, it just wasn't that great. And instead of trying to sell me on the internet, they were trying to sell me on a TV cable package, and because they were saying, well, you can watch all this stuff on TV, and I said, no, I need the bandwidth to watch what I want to watch online. And they're like, well, you don't need that much speed, do you? It's like, what can you watch online that you can't watch on TV? Like, is this really coming from somebody at my ISP? I'm like, I can't watch Twitch on TV. I can't watch YouTube on TV. Well, you can watch it on your TV, but you know what I mean? It's not,
exactly.
It's not, I can't watch Twitch. I can't watch YouTube and Netflix and Hulu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And we're now in an age where it's like, okay, I want to watch that. I'm going to go watch that right now.
Yeah.
And it's just, I agree.
Well, it's interesting.
I couldn't believe I was having that conversation. Like, do I have to explain this to you? It was almost like talking to, like your grandmother about, new stuff and trying to explain that it's not really the way it used to be.
No, you're 100% right. Now, I know my mother and father-in-law will listen to this most likely because they've embraced this form of new media because I'm doing it. But I was helping them as late as this weekend, cut over their ISP to another package, and I said to them, just go ask what sort of bandwidth you get, what downloads are, is it shared between your phone and this, that, and the other thing. And they've come home and they brought with them, unbeknownst to me, this TV box thing that I've got to go set up for them now as well. Happy to do it, of course, but I was just stunned that the ISP, as you say, I should say as well, they bundled in the pay TV because they couldn't do without the pay TV. And I was amazed that, like you, that the ISP, and it sounds very similar in your case, it's almost like they're 3 steps behind, they don't realize that this is what people want to do now. They're moving away from that traditional old media style of thing, and they want to move to the new stuff and on demand and what they want when they want. So, yeah, it's interesting to hear that it's kind of the same all over, and your experience as well. And I'm certainly pleased, at least in our conversation. I felt like I might have been overthinking it, but it sounds like we're on the same page.
No,
at least.
I think it's very widely shared opinions because, without getting too deep into it and changing the subject, but if you go many, many years back with people pirating movies and what have you, It's not, I don't think it's people want to do that. It just never had the option. People are willing to pay for the services if you can give them a service that they want. Nobody wants to pay for 100 channels when they only watch 7 of them, So it's like the whole thing with Netflix and Hulu and all these other services started to come out, and the same thing, Twitch to an extent. You can see every game that you're interested in, and you can see exactly what you want to watch. People are willing to pay, And for good service, it was never really available. So now it's nice to see that it's changing.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there. It's interesting. I mean, I read an article that was dated as far back as 2015. It said that Netflix accounted for something like 37% of all internet bandwidth in the US at peak times. So, I mean, I think the people are speaking, you know. It's really quite interesting. Moving on to less cerebral matters, shall I say? I had another listener request.
These are fun, so let's do it.
Can you tell us a joke? Now, I know you have one or two good ones, or at least one, and my daughter loves dad jokes, and I reckon yours qualified. So, you know, have you got any for us?
All right. Well, this is the new joke that I haven't told anybody, so I'll tell it on the podcast.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so what do you call a bear without teeth?
What do you call it?
A gummy bear.
Never gets old, Tyson. Never gets old. Now,
the reason why I love these jokes, I know they're completely stupid and they're just annoying, and I understand that, but I say those kind of jokes because if I can't laugh at myself and my own jokes, I know people say that's kind of like weird, but if I can laugh, I'm having a good time.
Yep.
I don't care what others think. If I'm having a good time, then I'm having a good time.
That's it. That's it. And I'll tell you, that's what I think, like I said to you before, I think that's a large part of the appeal of your stream because you are having a good time. It looks like it comes through, and that's what people want to see. So that's great. Now, turnaround's fair play. So I've got my own dad joke, and I'm saying this because my daughter loves them, as I say, and this is probably her favourite. So you have to play along with me. You have to be the straight man, and the straight man says why in this one, just giving you the heads up, okay? So
okay.
Sometimes I like to crouch down really low to the ground.
Why?
Oh, no, hang on. So,
okay. Why do you want to crouch down on the ground? I don't know.
Okay, let's go again. Sometimes I like to crouch down really low to the ground, wrap my arms around my knees, and lean forward.
Why?
Because that's how I roll. Sorry, listeners. We might have just lost a few at that point. Anyway.
No, I have a couple. It's like, what do you call a pig that does karate?
What?
A pork chop.
Just cheapers. Oh dear. All right, so that was to bring us back to a lighter tone. That was good. You seem sorry, I'll just collect my thoughts after that little interlude. You seem to keep quite unique hours. Like, I know it's like, what's it now? Nearly 6 a.m. in the morning. We've been going since about 5 your time. Like I said, you keep pretty unique hours. And by that, I mean, I think you get up really in the morning, but I think tonight was an all-nighter for you, which is great for me because it means you tend to stream somewhat close to prime time down here in Australia, and I get to tune in. But is there any reason for that? Do you not need to sleep, or are you actually like a vampire or something?
Well, I'm not a robot or a vampire like a lot of people think.
Yeah.
The hours that I work and the job that I do, it's part time. So it's not full time. So I'm not there every day. And the business I work for, it's a dog daycare.
Yep.
And they're open Monday through Thursday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I just don't have to work.
Yep.
And then it's some weeks I'm needed all 4 days, and then some weeks I'm not needed at all.
Yeah.
And then some. It just varies week to week depending on how many dogs are going to be at the daycare, and I'll usually know a couple days in advance.
Yeah.
But usually it's always at least Wednesday, Thursday. So anyway, I usually work right around what you would call over here second shift. I don't know if that's so. Yeah, I start kind of around the middle of the day, and then work into the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I might not wake up until like 10, 11 a.m. And then I'm off to work or whatever on the days that I need to work. And then by the time I get home and have some dinner or spend a little bit of time with Debbie before she goes to bed, and then I'll hop on and stream. And it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. But that's normal for me. You know, that would be like a 5, 6 o'clock for other people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then if I don't have to work for a few days, my schedule is just totally messed up then, because it's like I don't have that schedule of having to go to work.
Yeah.
So I'll try to sleep during the day. So then, cause Debbie works during the day like a normal person, and then, so I'll sleep in the day so then I can spend time with her when she gets off of work. And then, you know, we can do whatever we need to do. And, then I can stream at night. So. Yeah,
cool. Debbie seems really supportive of your streaming. Is she into gaming as well?
She is. We met a long time ago, and when we met, we were playing games together. So we've been together. This will be six. Okay, hang on a second.
Because you'll listen to this, you know this.
Yeah, we've been together for 15 and a half years.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so ever since we were just becoming adults, and she games every now and then, not so much the past couple years.
Yeah.
But she does. We used to always play when we first started dating. Rainbow Six Raven Shield.
Okay.
I don't know if you. Yeah, we were really into the Rainbow Six games back then, and we played co-op a lot with that, and we had a team where we, had like little tournaments and stuff back then, and she really enjoyed that, and we played a lot of games together actually.
Yeah.
But she supports it. And I support her in a lot of things that she does, and I think mainly for our relationship, it's like if the other wants to do something and they're not hurting anybody and it's not going to bankrupt us, as long as they're really enjoying it, then why shouldn't I let her enjoy that? You know, I don't want to take that from her, and she doesn't want to take this from me. We've been together for so long. She knows I really enjoy doing this and playing games, that there's no real reason for her to get upset about that. Sure, sometimes maybe it's a bit much, but,
maybe,
but most of the time she can handle it.
Yeah, that's really cool. But no competition for the streaming PC anytime soon, by the sounds of that.
No. She, although she always jokes that if she started streaming, she would get partnered right away, and she'd have more viewers and all this other stuff. And sadly, I think she's right.
She might be. You never know.
She has quite the attitude. So.
Oh, nice. That's the thing. A bit of personality that never hurts in getting a stream going. But you do devote a lot of time and energy to the streaming, and I think the quality of what you do reflects that, which is something I alluded to earlier. I was really pleased to see that you did secure that partnership with Twitch recently. It's called partnership, right? I mean, that's where people can subscribe and everything. Yeah, cool. It looked to me like the response from your viewers was really positive as well. How did you find that initial response from your perspective?
I actually found it great. I was actually I was pretty amazed at the response that I got, mainly because quite a few people over the last year have been telling me I need to apply for partnership over and over again.
Yeah.
And finally I took it a little bit more serious. I figured, well, okay, maybe, I should. I didn't really care for it at first because I never did this for money. I never got into it even thinking I would make a dime.
Yeah.
So I didn't really care about what my stream looked like as far as like overlays and text and all this stuff. So so anyway, they would recommend it, and finally I think like December or November of last year I applied, and I applied I think once a month and finally got it. And to my surprise, I think the first night I got 30 something subscribers. Yeah. And to me, that was about 30 something subscribers more than I thought I'd get. But no, I really thought, I told Debbie, I'm like, maybe I'll get like 10 or so, over the 24 hours. But I think for such a small, being on Twitch is kind of not a thing that not everybody knows about. Yep. And then to play a niche game in a niche genre is even more, so we're like a niche in a niche.
Yeah, I couldn't describe it any better.
Is there a term for that? Or
I don't know, but it's a really sort of quiet pocket of the internet, right?
Yeah, so it's just my little corner of the internet where I go to get away from things, and I was astonished to see the amount of people that subscribed, and I'm very, very grateful. And I don't think I might not always show it because of the banter, but I think people do know that I genuinely, appreciate it. So
yeah, I think they do too. I mean, I can tell you now, don't get big headed or anything, but you're my first and only subscribed stream. So, I certainly enjoy for those listeners that don't know what that means, when a Twitch streamer meets a certain criteria, they can apply to become partnered with Twitch. And then people can subscribe to their channel for a token amount of money and receive some perks, as a result. Primarily, I see that as a way of giving something back to the streamer who gets a small percentage of the revenue, just as a way of showing your appreciation for what they do. But can you tell us, Tyson, a little bit about the process that you went through and some of the criteria that you had to meet to become partnered?
Well, that's interesting because I got so much info from viewers telling me so many different things like I would need. Yeah. And it's going to sound kind of stupid, but when I would apply, I didn't sell myself or anything. Mm-hmm. Anybody can look at the application if they want to apply. You go to the Twitch site and go to partners, and then if you can go to the link to apply, and you just tell them your name, all the personal info, and then what games you stream and any info about you. And I at first, like my first application, I didn't really want it, alluding back to the whole thing where I didn't do this or get into this to make money. Yeah. But I'm certainly not going to reject them.
No, supporting the hobby, like we were saying, it's good.
Yeah. So, believe it or not, every time I applied, I just said I stream iRacing and Dirt Rally and mostly racing games. And I didn't tell them anything about myself, and I don't have a profile on Twitch. There's nothing on there. And the reason I did that was because I didn't – sellout's not the right word. Yeah. But this is kind of who I am. I mean, it's one thing if you're going to outside and you're going to wear a suit and tie to a job interview. I get that. Yep. It's nice and proper. Mm-hmm. But for this, I just took a totally different approach, and I took the approach to the application how I take my streaming. It's kind of like it's almost like every stream kind of just pretend it's your last stream where you might get banned, just have fun, just wing it. So believe it or not, the application that I got accepted on is an application where I sent in, and I'm not joking when I say this, but I told them the gummy bear joke in that application. So that's, I mean, and the reason I put that in, and I don't think I would ever do that on a your 9-to-5 type of job, but considering the place that I was applying for and who I am and how I stream, I just kind of felt it was a little bit to kind of break the ice, and just maybe when they're reading it, just to kind of have a laugh and think, wow, this guy's nuts. So
no, look, I think it's perfect. Like as someone who has, I do every now and then have to sit on, interview panels and stuff for jobs. I do look for stuff like that, if I'm honest. I look for something that's a little bit different and just something that sets you apart, I guess. So yeah, look, I think it's, really great. Not only is it great that the gummy bear joke got you over the line, but, it's really valid approach as well. But, I was really pleased to see that you're partnered, not just because I think you do a good job, but also because, we do play in that really niche market, as we were saying, so to speak. And when it comes to Twitch, seeing another one of the very few make it to that level is really encouraging. So congratulations on that and the work that you're putting in to get there. So it's great. One final indulgence for me while I have you here.
Sure.
Before we get on to the hot lap challenge. I recently, and I'm recording on it now, bought a new PC after struggling through for the past few years with a toaster under my desk. I think you run a second PC to stream from rather than directly from your gaming PC, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm wondering, I'm wondering if I can use the old PC, which to be fair is reasonably spec'd, even if it is a few years old, to do something similar. Can you tell me a little bit about your streaming PC setup and how that works?
Yeah. So, I'm trying to think of a way to make it short. Let's see. So basically, if I wanted to try to sum this up, so second PC has a capture card, and one goes to my graphics card on my gaming PC, and then the other HDMI cable goes to the monitor that I want to capture the image from.
Okay.
And then I use a mixer.
Yes.
You don't have to use a mixer, but I definitely prefer it because it's just easier to maintain or to manage different audio levels.
Yes.
And that's a quick and dirty way. And to describe it is basically the Stream PC does all the encoding.
Mm-hmm.
So it essentially you definitely don't need a stream dedicated one. Yeah. Especially for iRacing because it's not very demanding.
Sure.
However, it can take nearly the entire load off of your gaming PC. So when you're streaming, for instance, I run OBS on my games PC, but it's only to send a preview image to the capture card's virtual monitor. So the OBS on the game PC is only using 1 to 4% CPU usage. So it's using so minimal that you're not really gonna see the effects of it. So in games like, let's say Battlefield, you can run it, let's say on Ultra and get the same FPS as you normally would, whereas if you're streaming on trying to stream on that one PC, you might have to drop it down to high and medium or something to maintain the same FPS.
And that's not the same outcome then for your viewers either. I mean, they want to see the nice, pretty pictures too. Right. And you can run different X264 presets. And for those listening, that's the software encoding. Yes. So you can definitely do it with like any PC really, as long as you don't have crazy expectations. And what I mean by that is for a secondary PC to stream, it can be low end if you want to just stream say at 30 FPS, because it doesn't take that much to encode 30 FPS. And especially now with Twitch changing their bit rate all the way up to 6K. Like if you ran a 30 FPS stream at 3K, it's going to look really, really nice. And as far as quality, you can change the preset for X264. Let's say is default is very fast. And if you go slower, it's better quality. I don't know the exact like how much it improves, but from what I've read over time, and I've tried to find as much info on this as I could. But it's each level slower is kind of like the equivalent of going up in like 200-300 bit rate. So it's not,
that big of a deal,
Hmm.
but if you have the extra CPU headroom, then you might as well. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go. That's a really interesting overview of that, and certainly answers some of my questions. I think I'll have to dive a bit deeper into that before I really get the hang of it.
I will say though that if you plan to use two PCs, again for the viewers, you definitely do not have to do that.
Yeah.
You can stream just fine from one PC.
Yeah.
You just might have to make some adjustments in your game graphics and what have you. However, if you do two PCs, the audio is the biggest pain in the butt.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say that it's to get the levels right and to get rid of static. Because in between my two PCs, I have ground loop isolators.
Okay.
Are you familiar with those at all?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. So let's say you plug in your speakers and you don't have anything, any sound going through. You don't have any music playing through them.
Yeah.
And you turn up the volume a bit, and you can really start to hear some static.
Yeah.
And if you use a ground loop isolator, that'll help. It'll pretty much minimize or get rid of it.
Okay.
So that's something that you kind of have to deal with as well. Thankfully, depending on the ones you get, they're like $10, or they can go up to, I'm sure, quite a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's something that I didn't know about. I had to learn as I went, and it took me a while to try to figure it out, because I originally started using a second one because I just had an extra computer after upgrading stuff throughout the years.
Yeah.
I realized I had parts laying around. Now I have upgraded my stream PC to be just a stream PC. Previously it was just an old, I think the first generation i7. So
yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
No, that's pretty cool. Like I said, that's an excellent overview, and certainly I've got to say that some of the technical stuff that you've been through there really surprises me to the sort of lengths that you've gone to. It's really quite impressive. Now, we're going to duck over to the hosted session now.
Okay.
I'm going to get you to log into the server that I've set up, and I'm going to do the same because I'll be using the aforementioned OBS to record, and I'll post the lap up on YouTube. So I'm just going to... Can you see the session all right?
Yes, I'm thinking I'm joining. Yep. I got the password in, so I'm joining now.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm going to do the same. And I will, like I said, I'll post this lap when we're done, up on YouTube, and along with the podcast. It'll be in the description of the podcast underneath. Now you've got, how many we've got? We've got 3 laps previously to beat. You got Matt Malone, of course, who I'm sure you'll be wanting Grip TV bragging rights from. Nim Cross
he's quick.
Yeah, well, he's pretty quick, but I think he'd probably spend more time in the Skippy than he does, to be fair, which is probably going to play into your favour. The other times are Nim Cross Jr. and Bernie Weemers, who's my partner in crime. We do a Monday night broadcast for the Strength of Field race and the Skip Barbers, which I think we've only seen you in once or twice. So I'm hoping we can tempt you to come into that a bit more often. But so 3 times to beat, and I think as long as you're clean, you might have a pretty good shot at it, to be honest.
Alrighty. What are the rules? How many laps?
Sorry, yeah, good point. We're talking 2 timed laps after your out lap. So just do your out lap and 2 timed laps, and then the best clean lap with no incidents takes the money.
Alrighty. And are we allowed to put in the minimum fuel?
Yeah, do whatever you like, mate. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
it's a Skippy. There's not a whole lot you can change.
No.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually limited anything on there, mate. So just you can hop out on track whenever you're ready, and I'll just get all my stuff set up. All right, so here we are once again, and finally we've got on the track, on for the warm-up lap. and I think we might actually crack it for a win this time.
All right.
So, I did a bit of research prior to us coming on track tonight, and you and I have raced in the Skippies, if you can believe it, 10 times. And
really?
Yeah. And the last few times we've done it, things have actually gone my way, but I didn't realise to what extent. Like, I've always been excited when I've had you in the race, like we were talking about before. You get to race with the people that you see online. Sometimes you end up in the same servers, but unfortunately, the last couple of times you've had moments, and I've come out on top. But just so we can set the rivalry up for future reference, I'm ahead 7-3 in our 10 head-to-head races.
Okay.
So.
I'm going to have to start paying some people in Vice points to block you.
Yeah, well, that's it. So, just, for future reference when we're in there, 7-3, folks, that's where it's at right now.
Okay.
All right, so we're just out in the back section now through Hobbs. That's Redmond coming into Hobbs now into turn 9. Just on the warm-up lap now, coming around to Mike Knight corner. Might take the gyro cam now as we head in there, and I might even, if I can find the right button, I might even show the speedo if that comes up. No, it doesn't want to come up. Maybe next time. Alright, as we head across the line now into, interestingly enough, turn 1 is creatively named first corner. Some of the corners on this track, I tell you, Tyson, they didn't go to great lengths to name them, did they?
They would, I think the names would be what I would name them. Turn 1, 2, 3.
Well, they've all got numbers, but they've also got a couple of them with numbers in their names. So down to turn 4, one of the most important corners on the track, of course. You're setting up for the longest straight here. Nice tight exit. It's almost a double apex, but you can certainly late apex that. Heading down the main straight now. Trying to get up to 5th nice and early. How do you find this track, mate? I find this back section that you're coming into now quite technical.
Yeah, it's technical to end here. You can kind of make or break your lap here.
Yeah,
especially
that's right.
these two left-handers right here.
Yeah, 6 and 7, Revolver and Piper. I find these in any car just so challenging. Nice clip of the apex there. Full use of the track on exit. Very nice. Looking good so far. Into Hobbs now.
Oh, a drift.
Bit of sliding on exit. That's okay. You want to get the drive down early. I beg your pardon. We're going through Hobbs now. My memory's failing me. Nice drive out of there. Little lift through there. Very good. Braking hard. Staying in 3rd. I like it. Out on the ripple strips.
Not sure if 3rd's the best, but we'll see.
Well, latest builds, I find the higher gears through corners, if you can get your braking right, they actually do you okay. So, last lap now, if I pull that up the last time. No, it doesn't seem to want to do it for me tonight. Alright, well, you'll have to trust me, folks, at home. The last lap was a 44.4. So, I think, you're already on top of the leaderboard, mate. So anything you do now is a bonus.
All right.
So you've got bragging rights in the Grip TV crew because Matt Malone was the previous top time setter. So anything now is just additional bragging rights.
So as soon as this gets posted, I'm going to spam Grip TV Discord saying that he lost.
Well, you've got all the rights to it now. Oh, a bit tight on entry there. That's all right. He's relaxed now. He knows he's got top spot. Through Revolver down into Piper now. Nice entry. I know you drive the Skippies a bit. They're my favourite car, as the listeners will know. And through Redmond now for the last time. Coming through to Hobbs. You enjoy the Skippies, obviously?
Yeah. It's one of my favourite cars to drive in the game.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. Yeah, well, they go official every hour. Coming into the last corner now. Go official every hour. You can always get a race in them, and they're fantastic to drive.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Coming across the line for the final time now.
Oh,
No, you didn't beat it. Oh no, 44.5. So the original lap got a bit too relaxed there in the end, I think.
yeah, I think I got a little too relaxed.
Well, you'd already won it, so why not have a bit of fun with it? Nice wiggling there. We have a guy. Very hard to lose the rear end in these cars, but you're doing a mighty fine job of it.
It wouldn't be a race with me unless I crashed at some point.
Awesome. Well done, Tyson. That was a bit of fun, mate. Thank you very much for doing that. But before I let you go, I was going to say, I'm sure there's some good streaming ahead of you, but there's probably, I don't know, you've done a good stream already. You got any more plans to stream today?
Yeah, it'll be at the normal time of not normal times. I don't know. It's every day is just. That's why I've never put a schedule out there, because sometimes I just don't even I'm not in the mood to, and then sometimes I am, and it just depends.
Well, mate, that's all part of the charm. That's what I can say, and part of the appeal. But before I let you go, mate, is there anyone you wanted to give a shout out to while you're here?
Let's see. I'd like to thank my parents. I would like to thank the dogs that I work with. I kind of want to thank my viewers, but I don't really like them that much. So, let's see. I do want to thank Debbie for putting up with me. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Maybe that's the only honest thing so far I said. I'm a little sarcastic, but no, in all seriousness, I want to just thank everybody that's followed and subscribed, and even the people that don't say anything, that just lurk. It's just something fun for me to do, and as long as when I get done with the stream, somebody was able to laugh or smile, then I'm happy. And I want to thank Kutu for using Kutu apps. If listeners are just starting to get into streaming, if you decide to stream iRacing, look up Kutu apps, KUTU apps, and pretty much everybody that streams iRacing will use that. It's an overlay, and he did a few of my emotes. So I want to thank him. I want to just tell Aki to shut his face. I really don't know. It's there's just too many people that I would want to thank. JP for getting me into Grip TV, and I could just this could be a really long.
No, that's awesome.
Really long race.
That's awesome, mate. But for those of you that are interested in checking out Tyson's stream, head over to Twitch TV, and I'm going to say it again, / oh no, I've lost it now.
You messed it up.
I did.
It's so great to hear somebody mess up somebody's name. Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Quirkatized. There you go. / Quirkatized on Twitch. Nah, that's awesome, mate. Certainly I can vouch for its quality, and it's a very, very enjoyable watch.
Don't do it. It's a trap.
It's fine. Thank you for taking the time to come on the show, mate. I really appreciate it. Thank you also for your efforts in your streaming. I know, as I've said, I find it entertaining, and I know many of my listeners tune in as well. So keep up the great work, and thanks again for joining me here on the Top Split.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and it was great fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyson. So there you have it. Like I said at the start, we really didn't talk too much about iRacing in the end. But one of the things I really appreciated about Tyson was his openness, and even above that, perhaps, what I think came through was something I mentioned during our conversation, and that was his authenticity. If you do ever get the chance or make the time to check out his stream on his Twitch channel, Quirkatized, you can judge for yourself, but I certainly find that he really embodies the expression, what you see is what you get. On the show, look, he really enjoys his wins. He rolls with the punches when it comes to his losses. Certainly wears his heart on his sleeve, and it's probably part of the appeal for me when it comes to watching his stream. And in the end, I think the person on the screen and how they carry and present themselves is what streaming is about, and certainly it's what keeps people coming back to their favourite channels, I'm sure. If you were paying close attention, you may have picked up that I had a bit of technical trouble when it came to the Hot Lap Challenge, and Tyson was extremely patient and understanding. You may recall him saying that sound was one of the hardest things to get right with his stream. Well, I can tell you it is certainly one of the most challenging elements of what I do here as well. So a big thank you to Tyson for not only making the time to join me here on the Top Split, but also for his extraordinary patience. I'm not going to talk too much iRacing and skippies for this episode. I feel like I've probably taken up my quota of your time almost to this point. But given this is an iRacing podcast, I do feel somewhat obliged to throw some stuff in there. So just quickly, we've just hit the halfway point of the season, or season 8, I should say, of the Monday Night Lights. After 6 rounds, Russell Clark is sitting in first position with his most consistent season in some time. Right behind is Luke Whitten, though, who not only has a race in hand after missing this week's round, but is probably odds-on favourite to take out his maiden championship, with Enzo Cantor not being able to participate regularly this season due to work commitments after taking out the past 4 seasons on the trot. Pleasingly, though, Enzo did make a special guest appearance at the latest round at Silverstone, taking out a pole-to-flag victory on his return. I'm really also very pleased to report that Brian Inglis is in third position at the midway point of the season, with Ken Himes and Andrew Welter rounding out the top 5. I say very pleased because both Brian and Ken are regular second split runners, and it highlights one of the important aspects of the series for me. Whilst you may not always get to run in the top split and the awesomeness of being on the RTV broadcast each week, it's certainly possible to be up with the front runners of the championship overall because of how we do the points. Points are scored for the first 12 place getters in up to 4 splits. Obviously, there are more points on offer and the higher the split you are in, but with regular participation and consistent results, you can have a decent crack at the title. I know this firsthand, as before I was organising the series, in what I think was my first full season as a racer, in the series at least, I came second overall with perhaps maybe 1 or 2 appearances in the top split towards the end of that season, and most certainly in those races I didn't score any points. So the aim of the game is to get folks involved at all levels, to get people interested in this great category, the skip barber. If you're interested in joining us, just hop in the 9:15 p.m. Australian Eastern Time official Skippy race on each and every week of the official season, and I'll be tallying your points up at the end of each round. Better yet, Bernie and I could be calling your name on the RTV broadcast of the top split. The other championship I wanted to quickly draw your attention to is Season 2 of the Australasian Super Skips. We've just completed round 2, and RTV has also jumped on board to support and cover many of the rounds with their excellent broadcasts. Pleased to say that I've managed to run both rounds, just missing top 5 finishes both times. I was on for a podium in the last race, may not have got there in the end, but once again I did bungle my pit stop and had to settle for 6th. The coverage of the race also included a live cross to me in the cockpit, and I was chatting to Bernie and Kevin Henderson during the race, which I thought was once again an innovative thing that Bernie's done with the RTV broadcast. So certainly one worth watching. After 2 rounds, though, Luke Whitten has come out of the blocks well in his defence of his title, and is showing he's really going to be tough to beat again. Christian Kabanka is in second place with Alex John in third. Yours truly is sitting in 4th position with Michael Korn rounding out the top 5. Alex John and Russell Clark are leading the way in the team's championship racing for Team Milo. I have to say they will be very tough to beat as both look to have top 5 finishing speed with consistent finishes. I reckon they're going to set a cracking pace. In a fantastic show of community support, one of my previous guests, Philippe Lebert, has made his custom championship scoring website that he uses for the 2K Cup available to the Super Skips and set us up with a customized website where all the details of the series are now published. A massive shout out to Philippe, as it is an amazing gesture on his part and certainly much appreciated by the organisers, I know for a fact. You can check out the website at the following address. It's AAS, just think Australasian Super Skips, so aas.league.irleagues.com, IR for iRacing, irleagues.com, so that's aas.league.irleagues.com. Again, thank you to Philippe for making that capability available to us. It's genuinely very appreciated. Well, that's going to about do it for me for this month. Thank you once again to my fantastic guest, Mr. Tyson Meier. Make sure you head over to his Twitch channel at www.twitch.tv/Quirkitized. Quirkitized. Quirkitized. If you can say that, let alone find it, you're doing pretty well, but it's well worth the effort. In fact, I've actually got it on in the background, muted at the moment. I kind of got hooked on watching him go around the track. It's great fun and well worth your time. Thank you too for making the time in your day to join me. I genuinely appreciate the support and feedback that I've received along the way. It's been a lot of fun to this point. But if you do have any ideas for what you might like to see, or perhaps here's a better way to say it, on the show, you can reach out to me on the Top Split Facebook page or even PM me on the iRacing forums. I'd love to hear from you. But for now, and until next time, I've been your host, Alex McKellar, and you've been listening to the Top Split. Ciao for now.